Good morning, Year 5, and welcome to day 4 of this week's learning journey. I'm looking at the question, how have I faced the challenge of home learning? So the good news is that today is the last day where you're actually going to be recording something in your book, because tomorrow, day 5 of this learning journey, is going to be a meeting with me and sharing what you've done over the days. So that's some good news for today. So at the beginning of the week, we thought about what had gone really well, and yesterday we focused on challenges that we'd faced. So this was how your page was set up yesterday, and then you explored 2 or 3 different challenges that you faced. You thought about the impact of them, so what happened because of them, and then you went on to explore how you've learned to cope with them a bit better. So that was a solution, or actually how you've faced that challenge and it's no longer an issue. So what we've just got to do before we look at today's work is to think about the thinking column. So today's question that I'd like you to copy up into your thinking column using your coloured pen is, what have I learned about facing a challenge that will be helpful in the future? So if you'd like to pause the video and copy my writing, that would be great, and then press play when you're ready to move on. Okay, so this question, what have I learned about facing a challenge that will be helpful in the future? So the idea behind this is that we need to use this experience to think, yes, it's been tricky at times. Yes, there's been lots of challenges, but actually life is going to be full of challenges, things that we struggle with. And what we've learned actually is when something has been a bit of a struggle and you've achieved it or you've overcome it, we're actually really proud of it. So we need to almost use this experience now and think, hang on, in the future, when I'm faced with some other challenging times, how can I learn from what's happened now and face those challenging times in a bit of a more positive way? Or what strategies can I use that might be helpful? So I want you to think about how you can use what's happened, as I said, to help you in the future. So if you want to have a go at writing your answer to this, you can press pause, but I would have thought looking at what I've written is probably going to be a bit helpful before you do that. So I'm going to share it with you now, and as usual, it is quite long, but I've done that on purpose because I think there'll be certain aspects of what I've written, so certain parts of it that may mean more to you than others. So I've tried to think about lots of different ways we can use these experiences to help us in the future. So when you come to write your own, you might use some of my ideas, you might have your own ones, but I would have thought there'd be particular parts of it that will sort of strike a chord in your head. And what I mean by that means you think about it and go, that really applies to me. Not all of it will, but actually you look at it and go, yeah, that I agree with that part of it. So what I wrote was, COVID-19 has taught me that there are very few things in life that are worth getting really worried about. So hopefully you're no longer worrying about if you get something wrong that you send to me, or if there's a particular day when learning is hard and you don't do very much. You've realised that there isn't going to be, you're not going to get into lots of trouble for it. So yeah, this is a really scary time for lots of people, but actually it makes you realise that even if we've got worries in life, generally they're not worth worrying too much about. I need to try and overcome challenges, but remember that I can only do my best. Okay, so quite often there are things that get in the way of you achieving something that you can't control. And so long as you've given it a really good go, there's no more you can do. It is important to ask for help and it is important to ask for and accept help when you're struggling, as other people may have been through similar things and have useful advice, but it's also good to remember that you're not on your own. So again, when you're in that challenging situation, talking to people rather than bottling it up and sort of being worried about it or scared or embarrassed, is a really good thing to talk to other people about it, because even if they can't make it go away, they can probably offer you some advice that is helpful or just make you feel less alone. So those are sort of 2 or 3 things that I think we can take about this challenging time and think, actually, next time I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed or a little bit worried about something, if I remind myself that I got through this time, then that should be easier. So can you have a go at writing your answer to that? And again, I'd love to see it in your own words. I'd love to see what you were thinking, particularly if it's different to what I've written down. But if you're a bit stuck, then you can use some of my ideas and try and write them in your own way. So if you want to pause the video, and then you can press play when you're ready to carry on. Okay, so we're going to set up a brand new page again, please, with today's date and the title here. With your thinking column. So if you'd like to copy this down, set it up as you have, but please do a new page. Set it up as you have on the previous pages, and then press play when you're ready to move on. Okay, so what target would help me to be better at home learning after half term? So we're going to think now, particularly about things we've struggled with, but what could we do slightly differently so that next half term, and hopefully you won't be learning from home. For very long, but what could we do slightly differently, even if it was just for a couple of weeks, that would make you a better home learner? Okay, so what we're going to do is think about targets that you could set yourself. So don't write anything down at the moment. These are some targets that I have thought up from talking to people. Now, hopefully, again, as usual, you'll come up with your own one that is specific. So it's just for you, because you're the only one who knows how you found home learning. You're the only one who can really sort of give a first-hand account, say exactly what's gone well, but also what you've struggled with. So you can choose some of mine if you go, yep, that's me. But if you come up with your own, then that's great. So possible targets could be to complete all my learning in the morning. And I would say that would be good for lots of people. So rather than leaving it till later in the day when you're really tired, then to move my workspace into a different room. So maybe where you're working at the moment is really noisy, or you get easily distracted because there's a TV in there. Okay, to complete the learning journey or English work first. Lots of people really struggle to get that done because they leave it till later in the day. Whereas if you started the day with that, it would be over and you'd finish it really quickly, and then you wouldn't have to have it hanging over you for the rest of the day. To complete my maths work before the 10 a.m. register. So that might be somebody who actually starts working a bit later in the day and thinks, hang on, if I set myself that goal, that means that half of my learning almost is done by the time we've got the register at 10 o'clock. To message Mrs. PA with questions if I get stuck. So not just go, oh, I can't do that, I'm going to give up. It's about taking that responsibility and go, oh, Mrs. PA, can you explain that? Or can you answer this? Or I'm not quite sure about that. And to let my dad help me when I am stuck. And lots of people have got different people at home. But again, from talking to people, they're not necessarily taking the help that is on offer. So you might sit there and go, yep, I definitely could do all of those. But what we're going to do now, this is what you're going to record in your book, okay, is you're going to write underneath where you've got your title and things, you're going to write possible targets for me, okay? And then you're going to come up with 3 different ones. So this is my example. So you need to write possible targets for me with a dash, okay, and put a bullet point. And then you need to have 3 bullet points, but fill in your first one. So come up with 3 possible different targets that you could set yourself. You're only going to choose one of them. So what I'm going to do is going to hide that bit there. So pause the video and just write possible targets for me with a dash. Okay, and then press play when you're ready. Right, now you've got your you've got your bit there of possible targets for me. I'm going to switch back to this part because if you want to use mine, but can you please underneath that with bullet points, write 3 different targets that would be appropriate for you to set yourself, okay, that you're going to choose one of them. As I said, you can choose some of mine, but come up with your own if that's okay. So 3 things that you could do slightly differently. It's not about making a major change because that's not very realistic. So come up with 3 things that you could do slightly differently that would make home learning even better for you. So if you could pause the video now and then press play when you're ready to move on. Okay, so now you've got something that looks like this, but your targets will probably be different. So your job now is to choose one of those things. You're going to focus particularly when we come back from half term on one of those things. So get your coloured pen and then leave a space and then write, my target for after half term is going to be, and my ... is because you're going to fill it in with one of these from up here. So you need to now do that. Press pause on the video with your coloured pen, write that sentence and complete it with your target that you've chosen from above. And then press play when you're ready. Okay, so this is the key part now. We've got to underneath in your writing pen or pencil, you're going to explain why you've set this as a target. So you're going to copy this exactly, and then on the next page I'll explain what to do. So leave a bit of a space, and then with your writing pen or pencil, write, if I work on and achieve this target, comma, it will have a positive impact on my home learning because we've got to make sure you're setting the right target. If it's not going to change anything, there's no point setting it. So you need to now pause the video, write this beginning to a sentence, but don't fill the end in yet. So stop at the word because I'm going to explain to you about that in a minute. So press pause now and catch up with that bit. Okay, now you've done that, I'll show you my example. So if I work on and achieve this target, it will have a positive impact on my home learning because I will complete this work. So my target, was about doing the learning journey and English work first. So I will complete this work. I've only had a go at it on some days. So the main thing that will be different is that I'll actually do that work every day. I know that the quality of my work is better in the morning, and I find that as the day goes on, I get tired and I'm much more likely to give up on something that is challenging. Tackling this challenge early in the day will also give me the time to ask for help if I need it. So you are explaining what the impact will be if you meet this target. Okay, so this is what will happen if you make this tiny change. So that's what you need to do now, is to think, okay, if you make this change, how is home learning going to be different from me? And it might be that you have arguments less at home. It might be you just get more work done. Okay, but if you can explain it, it then will persuade me that you've set the right target. Because actually, if you haven't got a reason for setting that target, it's not the right one. So when we talk on Friday, I'll want to know why you've set that target. And if you haven't got a good reason, then we'll have to choose another one. So this is your chance now to explain what is going to happen because you make this change. So as usual, you can use some of my words if you want to, but it is much better if you write it in your own way. So the question you're trying to answer by filling in the end of this sentence is, what is it going to be like if you do meet this target, if you make this change? How is it going to be better? Is it going to make you feel better? Is your work going to be better? What is going to be different? So if you press pause now and answer that. Okay, right, then the last thing we're going to have a look at doing, all right, is our thinking column. And then this is the last thing for you to do today. So can you write in your coloured pen as usual, what are the key things that I need to do to make sure I achieve my new learning target? So press pause and copy that up, please. Okay, so now you've done that, we are just going to bullet point a few things that you need to do to make this target happen. Because it's all very well setting it as a target, it's all very well telling me about it on Friday, but actually, how are you going to make sure that you meet this target? So you are going to write a list of a few things that you're going to commit to doing that means this target is going to be achieved. So they may include, okay, I need to keep reading the bit underneath my target to remind me of why I've chosen it. So it might be every morning you read this bit and say, actually, if I do this every day, this is the difference it's going to make. So this reminds you why you're doing it. So it should give you motivation. Okay, you might tell everybody at home about it so they can remind you. So if it feels like you're going to give up, they can tell you why you've chosen that target. It could be that you make a poster to put where you work every day, so you can keep looking at it when you want to give up and not do that learning journey work. You remind yourself about that target that you've set, that commitment you've made. It might be that you're going to tell me about it so that I can tell you if I notice a difference, so I can give you some really good feedback, maybe some extra dojo points. So you're going to think now, what are you going to do to make sure that you have met that target? Okay, so bullet point a few ideas. Hopefully yours will be different and they'll be about the target that you've set yourself, but you can use some of mine if you want to. So I'd like at least 2 things that you're going to do to make sure you meet that target. It might be about organising your space a bit better. It might be about having a conversation with somebody. It might be about making a poster, as I said. So that's your last job for today. Once you've done that, your job really is to prepare, okay, your last little bit. I suppose I've just said your last job, but the last thing you need to do, I suppose you could do it in the morning. You need to prepare for this meeting. So you need to read over the work that you have completed since Monday so that you're ready to talk about it. You don't need to have to read it out loud to me, but you need to be familiar. You need to remind yourself about what you've done. Okay, and I can't wait to speak to you all tomorrow. Please send me a photograph of what you've done today. Thank you.